There's 3 categories shoes usually fall into for me. The shoes that I really love as soon as I see images, like the UNC5, like the Nike Dunk Low Setsuban. Knew I had to grab those shoes no matter how, no matter what means, I will have a pair of those shoes. And then there are shoes I don't like, can't pay me to wear them, just something off about it. And then there are shoes that fall into a different category where I'm just torn. There are probably a lot of things that I like about the shoe, and then maybe just 1 or 2 things that I think are glaring flaws that I really wish they changed. In the end, it just kind of leaves me confused, but over time, I do learn to like them. Now, this shoe that I'm reviewing today falls into the last category for me. There's so many things that I think are really cool about the shoe, but there's just 1 or 2 things I wish they did differently, and I'm sure a lot of other people feel the same way. Air Jordan 1, next chapter. Now this shoe, you've definitely heard of it. It is the shoe that is coming out in tandem, not exactly the same date, but it is in collaboration with the newest Spider-Man movie, Across the Spider-Verse. Now if you haven't seen the first movie, definitely recommend. Such a fun, great movie. Definitely looking forward to the second one, probably more so than I was looking forward to this shoe. Now the first movie also had an Air Jordan 1 collaboration. It was the Air Jordan 1 origin story. I personally didn't love that shoe. I think most people loved it. The resale value on that shoe was insane. I didn't love it because there was just too many of those Kirby dots that you see in comics all over the shoe. Just kind of gave me this weird, gross feeling. On this shoe, you see in some areas, they do apply the same dots. However, it is in very limited amounts. If I don't look at it too much, I don't get grossed out, but if I do look at it and focus on it, Now a viewer commented in one of my past videos telling me what phobia it was. I definitely have that because when I googled it, I nearly threw up. But shout out to you. Number 1, thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for telling me what I have. Now this shoe is officially dropping on May 20th for $200. A little bit more expensive than a usual Jordan 1, which are usually like $180. Give them a pass, it is a collaboration, but I do hope they don't sneakily raise prices for other Jordan 1s going forward. Now there was a shock drop around May 4th, beginning of the month, but the official release date is May 20th on the sneakers app. Now at first glance, it's a very clean shoe. It looks just like a Chicago colorway with some extra details, but when you turn it around, there's a few things I really don't like about this shoe. Here we go. The upper sole of the shoe has a mix of materials, starting with the white base leather layer. It's pretty nice leather. It is genuine, it's not that synthetic, really plastic feeling leather. Now according to Nike.com, it is lustrous leather. Don't know about lustrous, just relax Nike. It's leather, just call it leather, we're good. And the red on this shoe, even though it is basically a Chicago colorway, is slightly brighter than an Air Jordan 1 Chicago or the red that you find on the Lost and Found. So see that comparison up close? I prefer the red on the Lost and Found. I like a darker tone. But this isn't too bright where it starts to look ugly. Now moving on to the start of the toe box, or whatever this area is called, this part is suede. And it's an okay suede, it's pretty nice suede, it's not too hairy, but it's not the smoothest suede also. And it comes in a slightly darker red suede than the rest of the toe box. And then right behind it, you'll see this nubuck filling material and that washed smudge pattern. You also see that on the heel of the shoe. Now I kind of like that pattern. I think if they made the shoe out of this pattern, I think it'll look pretty nice. And you see that material also on the other side of the shoe. So on the inner part of the shoe. The shoe also features patent leather, but there's a catch. So on the beginning of the eyelets, on the outer side of the shoe, you see what you expect to be normal patent leather and that bright red. So this is patent leather you see on other shoes like the Cherry 11s. But then on the ankle collar as well as the swoosh, you see that patent leather material. However, there's no actual like leather behind the patent. So when you squeeze on that ankle collar, you don't feel that leather behind it. It's just straight like ankle collar material. Like squishy, it's soft, and just the finish is in that patent leather finish. Same with the swoosh. So already you see a bunch of materials, but the most controversial and most distinct material on the shoe lies in the ankle collar, parts of the ankle collar, as well as the eyelets. So you see where they have the Wings logo, where they have the small kind of Kirby dots that you see in comics. It's made out of this paper cardboard type of material, vinyl-like. I don't really know what the best description for this material is. Now, I don't like that material. It feels kind of cheap, it feels fragile. I don't know how to do in the rain. Not a big fan. And you see it wrap all the way from the ankle collar to the back of the shoe to the other side. And of course, you got to mention, probably in my opinion, the biggest eyesore of this shoe are what I call the pepperoni slices. I know they're going for like a whole multiverse type aesthetic with this almost psychedelic look and feel to it. It just looks like pepperoni slices. Someone mentioned that online when images of the shoe first came out, and I've just never been able to get that reference out of my head. Don't love it. I don't like how it looks. If this shoe didn't have that pattern, it would be so much nicer than it is. So you combine these big circles with this material that I'm not a fan of, this cheap feeling material. It's just really a big flaw on the shoe. And you see down the eyelets, on one side you have those small Kirby dots. On the other side you have those bigger pepperoni dots. I think of all the materials on this shoe, my favorite is probably the nubuck, where you see that smudged pattern. I really like how that pattern looks. I like how it feels. It's not like a hairy type fuzzy synthetic nubuck. If it is nubuck, Nike.com doesn't really give you a definitive description of it, but it feels like nubuck. Now the tongue of the shoe, it is this more creamy or pinkish color. Now you see this tag on the tongue, slightly different to a usual Air Jordan 1. Usually on the Air Jordan 1, you don't have that extra white part on the tag. It just has Nike Air. This thing, I don't know. I don't like how that looks. I think it's just extra material. I don't know why they did that. What was the point? I don't get it. Now, one little detail I had to point out lies in the Wings logo. The letters R and D, at the bottom of those two letters, they usually join together. And I think a lot of people use that to distinguish between fakes and authentics. So a lot of fakes will miss that detail, and there will be like a slight separation between the R and the D at the very bottom. So if you look at this from the Air Jordan 1 Pollens, you'll see it's joined together. Now I don't know if it's 100% universal guaranteed thing that always occurs on Jordan 1s. However, when I check my Jordan 1s directly from Nike.com, it does have that detail. However, on this shoe, the bottom of the R and D in Jordan, there is a separation. It is not joined together. However, don't panic. If you don't see that on your shoe, doesn't mean it's fake. On the official images, I scoured the internet for all the official images of this shoe, and it's the same thing. The R&D, the bottom of the R&D, are not joined together. I don't know if it's on purpose or not. I don't know if it's because the way the material works on this shoe, it's slightly different. So if you do see that, doesn't mean it's a QA issue, doesn't mean it's flawed. It just is the way it is on this shoe. The outsole of the shoe is probably the coolest part about this shoe. It does glow in the dark after you charge it with UV light. Now I couldn't get it to work in time, I didn't have time to charge it, I didn't have time to put it under the sun, but there are a bunch of images out there online where you can see it glow in the dark. It looks very, very cool. But even if it doesn't, I think this red translucent type outsole, I think it's cool. I think it looks very, very nice on this shoe, and it does kind of play into this more multiverse, more psychedelic aesthetic that the movie and the shoe is going for. Now the shoe, like all other Jordan 1s, does have a rubber midsole with a Nike Air unit on the heel, and it is a sail midsole. Again, they couldn't help themselves. They had to stick sail on the shoe, would have preferred a white midsole. Now this shoe doesn't come with any extra laces, so they take a movie that references the multiverse, and they couldn't give us multi options for laces. That's a bit of a stretch, but $200 on a special shoe like this, give us an extra option, please. Honestly speaking though, I don't know what laces I would choose over the default black laces. I think the colorway wise, it's about as perfect as it can get. Black, white, red. Keep it simple. Now, the box of the shoe is probably the most disappointing part about the shoe, even more so than those pepperoni slices. I get they're trying to do something special with those pepperoni big dots on the shoe, but the box for a shoe that is coming out in tandem in collaboration with maybe one of the biggest hits of the year, you give us a standard black Nike box. So the shoe itself is so unique, it's one of a kind, whether you like it or not. It is very special. It is different. And that's where it ends. It's like they used up their uniqueness quota. They could have done something so cool with this box, make it playful, make it like a multiverse theme, have Miles Morales kind of in the middle feature it somehow with him wearing the shoes like he does in the movie. Instead, this looks like any other Nike box that I have. Now moving on to sizing, I'm a size 9.5 true to size. I do have wide feet, but for Jordan 1s, I find that going true to size at 9.5 is pretty perfect. There's no part of the shoe that's too snug. I will say, for whatever reason though, this Jordan 1, it feels a bit more stiff out of the box than other Jordan 1s. I compared it to another Jordan 1 that I just unboxed the other day. It's an old Jordan 1, I just haven't gotten around to wear it, and this shoe just felt stiffer. I don't know what it is. I think the toe box area especially, it just felt a bit more stiff than usual. Maybe it's the patent leather that they use on the sides. I couldn't put my finger on it, just not very comfortable. And that's adding to the general discomfort of the Jordan 1s. The cushioning inside the Jordan 1s, just the Nike Air unit in the heel, flat feeling shoe, the insole is about as cheap and generic as you can get. I will say the tongue is pretty thick, pretty well padded, it's squishy, as well as the ankle collar. Those parts do feel nice. Now that brings the total sole score of the Jordan 1 Next Chapter to 19 out of 25. one of the highest scores that I've given for a shoe. Now colorway wise, even though there's some extra details to the shoe, details that probably people don't want, however, a Chicago inspired shoe, you just can't go wrong. It's such a nice colorway, red, white, and black. Perfect. Probably the best colorway ever. Maybe the best colorway ever. In terms of materials, I think the leather, suede, and this nubuck feeling material on the heel counter feels pretty nice. However, this kind of paper cardboard feeling material where you see those dots, where you see those circles, you can already start to see the creasing form on this material, and I barely want it. Just don't like it. I wish they would have done something different. Comfort wise, like I said, cushioning barely there, just like most Jordan 1s. Very flat feeling to it. Generally, I don't really mind that. It's good for my knees, it's good for my back. I am getting old. However, for some reason, this Jordan 1 just feels a little bit more stiff than others. Versatility wise, the Jordan 1, one of the most versatile shoes you'll ever find in life. However, the colorway, it does have some extra details that take away from the versatility, but in general, in a vacuum, especially from a distance, where you don't really notice all the details that people might not like, I think it's still a very, very versatile shoe. I can see myself wearing this with basically everything I have in my wardrobe, in spite of those pepperoni pizza slices. Now storytelling wise, it is coming out with a movie, so the story is pretty clear. I do like incorporating those Kirby dots that you see on comics on the ankle collar. I think those are Kirby dots anyway, at least I think that's what it's referring to. And I also like this washed kind of smudge pattern that you see on the heel counter, kind of further referencing like the multiverse or more psychedelic experience that the movie goes for. But the big miss, like I said, is on this box. Endless opportunity there to make this box really, really special, but they came with this. Overall, I still like this shoe despite some complaints that I have, mainly around the ankle collar area, the materials, the pattern. Not a big fan, but I feel like Jordan Brand really swung for the fences on this one, and I appreciate the effort. That's all you can really ask for. We always complain about how Jordan Brand kind of recycles, reuses the same things, but when they do try something different, even though we might not like it, at least they went for it. Not to mention a shoe that resembles the Chicago colorway so closely, that's always appreciated. And that's just the way it is sometimes. You like 80% of a shoe and learn to overlook the 20% you don't like. So that's it. Thanks for watching Soul Inclined. Like, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff. Let me know what you think of the Air Jordan 1 next chapter. And remember, tomorrow may never come, so wear your shoes.